So why guys can't get the women that they actually want. So a fair number of my clients, I would say probably more than half, it's not like they can't get dates with women. It's not like they can't build attraction with women. It's not like they couldn't even get a girlfriend if they wanted to. It's just not with the women who they truly desire, right? When it comes to the women who they truly desire, that's when they mess up. That's when they start getting ghosted and get mixed signals, and it feels like a very, very frustrating process. So are these guys just, gonna have to settle and go for the women who they're not that interested in? Not so fast, okay? Because what I do is I help guys with this issue. And so I'm gonna tell you a couple examples about guys that have gone through this, that have had this exact issue. Because in reality, everybody's different and there's different reasons. Maybe there's gaps in their confidence. Maybe they're confident around women who they're not super attracted to, but when it comes to women who they are really attracted to, their confidence lowers. Most of the time though, what I generally see is that they're not building enough attraction with those women who they truly desire. And it's for a couple of reasons, right? So I'll give you an example about a guy named Matt who was in my program. And he basically had that exact same issue. So when he first came to me, it's not like he had never dated before. He had been on plenty of dates. They just weren't with the kinds of women that he wanted to date. He wanted to get more attractive women, more in shape women, more women that he was, generally desiring more. So when he first came, he needed to get himself back in the game. So we started getting him back in the game. We started getting him to talk to women. He learned how to approach. He learned how to meet women in his everyday life. He started getting laid. And I think he, slept with maybe 3 women or something like that before he was like, you know what? It's cool that I'm getting laid, but I feel like these are already women that I've dated before and I don't really see a future, with those kinds of women. And I'm like, okay, cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to start dating the women that we actually want to date. And we're not going to get ghosted after the second or third date. We're going to actually make it past that. So the way to do this is to build up the other areas of your life. When I say that you need to become more attractive to these women, what are the areas that most men assume that they need to build up? They assume they need to improve their looks. They assume they need to improve their money. Matt did none of those things. He did none of those things. And honestly, if he had done it, I don't think he would have gotten as good of results as he got in my program. Because by the end of it, not only was he dating women who were the most attractive women he's ever dated in his life, he was able to get them by building a good foundation. He was able to do it by spending more time with them and not rushing to the finish line. The problem with modern dating right now, and I see this with a lot of guys, and he was dealing with this when he first came, is that they only think that the way for them to get women is just approach and ask people out on dates, or to go, join a dating app and then match with them and then get with them that way. And a fair amount of guys get matched with very attractive women off dating apps, but usually it's because they're very attractive or they have really, really good pictures. You can make good pictures and not be that good looking of a guy, but there are obviously limits to how good you can get. So what you need to do is you need to build up the other things. There's a lot of data out there to show that when a woman spends more time with you, you're going to actually seem more attractive if she spends more time with you in the right context. For instance, if you're a guy who's friend zoned and you're kind of following her around all the time, she's not going to be very attracted to you. So most women want to get with a guy who they can kind of feel in their feminine because he's in his masculine. So the more time women spend where you're in your masculine, the more they're going to be interested in you. And unfortunately, I hate to say this because although dates do a few of the things that women they actually are not really great for building attraction. Women kind of need to see you from afar. So what does this look like? This looks like her looking at you at an event and seeing how you interact with people, seeing how they interact with you. You need to get her to kind of develop a crush on you. But when you get older, not very many women develop crushes on men in the real world these days because women don't spend a lot of time around men to develop that crush. We're not in school anymore, and so we kind of get separated. So what we did with Matt was we built up a lifestyle, we built up an ecosystem, and we brought women in there who were of the attractiveness level that he was looking for. He did this a few ways. Number one, he started going out and approaching women, but he didn't do it in a way where he was trying to pick them up. He was just doing them to meet them and basically take them to another fun event. And so from there, they started spending more time together. And basically after that, we started working the things that we normally work on in the program. He showed his masculine side. He was leading. He never put himself in a situation where he was overly relying on them, where he was just kind of sitting around being a dud, where he wasn't a person that was bringing value to the interaction or value to the social situation. You always want to be a guy who's bringing value, and you always want to be a guy who's generally in the leading category. You don't have to lead all the time, but you should be leading a fair amount. And the problem with most guys is that most guys are waiting to be led by attractive women, and they just instinctively really follow them because they don't have they haven't built up that mindset. They'll do it through like little things, and that will kind of kill attraction in a lot of ways with women. So he did all of the things that we talk about. And then from there, it was about a couple months. And then I'm not exaggerating, where he had women that were basically throwing themselves at him who were of the attractiveness level that he was looking for. Lloyd, how did he go from not getting a second date and obsessing over women of this level of attractiveness to now they're throwing themselves at him? Well, it was the amount of time that these women spent with him. It was that they were vetted through their friends, through other people. Women saw how people in the group were responding to him. He put himself in the leading category. He put himself in a position of almost an authoritative position within the social groups that he had created. He was leading them to fun. He knew where the stuff to go was. He was comfortable handling situations when they came up. And what happened with him was that women saw him doing this repeatedly, again and again and again, and they started building up more and more attraction to him. His looks, the amount of money he was making, like that stuff remained constant. And to be honest, it was all right. It was decent. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't outstanding. And so once he allowed them to see him being masculine, him being the leader in a social situation, him being the guy that they could rely on, and they're building comfort and trust and all of these things, that connection, emotional connection, all these things that women value. And they're doing it in a way where he's not being thrown in the friend zone. That is the kind of guy who is going to date women who are significantly more attractive than he's used to dating. And the reason why is because they're seeing great qualities. Just being good looking or just being at the same level of attractiveness as a woman, it's not really going to do enough. If you're her type, then that might work. But if you're not her type, then it can be a little bit challenging. So what he did was he did that. And at the end of it, now he has a situation where he doesn't even think about having to cold approach women. He'll do it occasionally to like meet new people and do that. But he's built up an ecosystem that puts the odds back in his favor. You see, the way most guys date is most guys date with the odds not in their favor. So here he's built up an ecosystem where he's meeting women through his friends, where he looks like basically a badass. But most people don't have that. Most guys don't have that. Most guys have very few friends, very few female friends. They don't go out and do fun things. And when they do go out and do fun things, they're by themselves, or maybe they're with a buddy or just like a couple other dudes, right? So what you need to build is you need to build something that puts the odds back in your favor. Just going on a date with a woman that you matched with off of a dating app, that's a really, it feels like you're climbing an uphill battle. But if you bring women into an ecosystem where you are an attractive guy and they can see all the things that make you attractive, the way people behave towards you, the value you bring to social situations, you being kind to another person. If you have power and you're nice, that's called being kind. And women really value a guy who is kind. So she's seeing all of these things happening. And then like if a friend who probably looks like her comes into the group, that friend already sees how her friend is behaving towards him. And she sees that everybody treats this guy with respect. Everybody's looking up to this guy. People follow this guy. And in her mind, she thinks this is a high value guy. This is a guy who I want to get with, because women really look at the way other people behave around you in social settings. And if you're by yourself, it's not like you can't get women, but you just won't be able to get as good women unless you build this. Now, there are going to be a couple things that I say about this. Matt did this with a full-time job. Some of you are thinking, oh, this is going to take a lot of work. I don't want to have to build a social circle. I don't want to have to build, a foundation. I don't want to have to plan events. Homie, if you're looking for women who are of a certain level of attractiveness that a lot of other people want, it is going to take work. You can't just sit on your ass and expect the women to come to you. So it's going to take a little bit of work, but it's not going to take as much work as you think. It's going to take intentional work. So what you need to do is you need to carve out 2 nights or a day and a night or whatever it is for a few hours where you're going to be social and you're going to invite people to those social events. You need to find places where you can meet the kinds of women who you like so you can build this. It is going to take a little bit of time, but I've been able to help guys out with this who work 60 plus hours a week. I've been able to help guys out who literally felt like they had no time. But once we actually looked at their calendar and once we actually carved things out for them that weren't taking up too much of their time, but allowed them to meet people and maybe do an activity, it helped out a lot. You have to understand women. You have to understand how they look at the world and make sure that you're satisfying those things that they look for at a biological level. For women, attraction attraction is not a choice. Once you trigger these things, then they are going to be interested in you. But most guys don't know what those triggers are. Most guys don't know how to build it, even if they know what they are. And then most guys, on top of that, don't even want to try because they feel like it's going to be too much work. It's not going to be too much work. You can build this even if you're very busy all the time. So hopefully this helps you guys. If you want help with this, there's a link down below. Schedule a call with my head coach or with me, and we'll talk and we see if we can help you.